Hello, welcome to this, which is a review of Machi Koro. Now this game is, again, another little Japanese themed game, and it's really kind of simple. It doesn't have that much complexity to it, but it does have quite a few strategies. So the rules are very, very simple to explain, and they kind of, at the beginning of the game, are really straightforward, but as you play, they get slightly more, not complicated, but you've got to be paying attention to a few different things. Now it does summarise itself very well on the front of the box. It does say a fast-paced city-building dice rolling card game. Now fast-paced is something to bear in mind. If you're playing games like Monopoly and you have people that like to not tell you when they land on your spaces, it's a game that they're going to really love. Now the game has a huge box and basically is a deck of cards. This is most of the game, and there's one dice, another dice, and there's some scoring kind of money point cards, and that's it. So it's very, very simple. So the game is that big. That's the game. That's the rulebook. Now it does take up a lot of space, and the objective of the game is to build a city and eventually turn over one of each of these cards. So each player, and it's, I believe, 2 to 4 player game, you have to purchase for the values in the bottom left hand corner these different cards. Now these tell you what they do, but at the beginning you don't really need to explain that. You just need to say you need to buy these. Whoever turns all 4 over first wins. Now at the beginning of the game you start with one of each of these cards. You get one of these blue ones and one of these green ones. And these tell you what they do on the bottom. So I'll just put these in front of you, make sure you can see them. Put them down here. So these cards give you 1 coin from the bank on anyone's turn, but only if you roll a 1. So at the beginning of your turn, you roll a dice. If I get a 6, nothing happens. Until I roll a 1, this card does nothing. And this card does say on anyone's turn. Now all the blue cards in the game give you points based, or coins based on other people's rolls and yours. There are some that only do it on other people's, and there's some like this green one that's only on your turn. Now these cards activate when you roll it. So say I rolled a 1, it says get 1 coin from the bank on anyone's turn. So I would go open this little bag, give myself 1 coin. That's my go. I then pass the dice, say someone else rolled a 2. This activates again, and I get another coin. Give myself another coin. As I said, it's very, very straightforward. Say someone else rolls a 6, nothing actually happens. Basically, you just spend a game waiting for someone to roll an appropriate dice. Now, you do have the choice, after rolling your dice, to buy a card. Now, there's a big deck of cards, and this is something you need to lay out right at the beginning of the game. But basically, these you can all purchase for the corresponding prices. You can see bottom left on each card has a little number in a gold circle. And you can buy other things. So you could buy a convenience store that when you roll a 4, so you have a 1, a 2, a 3, and you could buy this for 2 coins. So it says 2, I pay 2 coins, I now have this thing. It's kind of useful to get something on every dice roll rather than buying lots and lots of wheat fields, for example, which you can do. You can buy multiple wheat fields and they'll combine. So if I rolled a 1, I would get, or anyone rolled a 1, sorry, I would get 4 coins. But throughout the game you realise a few strategies. Now I'm not going to reveal those in this video, but there are a few strategies that you might work out, and they're basically based around things that combine stuff. So things like a mine gives you 5 coins from the bank on anyone's turn, but if you look through you can find things that give you 3 additional coins for each something with a little gear cog, which this mine is, establishment on your own, that you own, sorry, on your turn. So if you land on this card and have a huge stack of these mine cards, you can end up getting quite a few cards, and that is quite useful. So that's a little hint, but I don't want to obviously give away too much. But basically you're rolling lots of dice. You roll 1 dice to begin with, But eventually you can buy the first of your kind of main monuments and you can turn that over. When you buy it, it then lets you roll 1 or 2 dice. Now that does mean it's impossible to roll a 1 because they're cumulative. You don't roll those, say I rolled a 6 and a 1, I don't get to go, well that's a 1 and that would be a 6 if I had anything that got a 6. That counts as a 7. And because of that, you cannot get less than 2. So as soon as you start rolling 2 dice, these wheat fields are kind of useless unless someone else rolled a 1. Now, the other things happen, you eventually buy all these other cards, which again, they have written on them what they do. You can choose to re-roll a dice. You can, if you roll doubles, take another turn. If you have a kind of any of the I think it's a bakery. If you have any of those symboled cards, you earn an additional coin per card extra. And basically, the game is very, very simple. It does get slightly more interesting later on, and as I said, if you have those people that don't tell you when they've done certain things, it gets a bit rushed. So say I've just been playing and someone's rolled a 1 and they go, okay, they pick up the dice very quickly. They'll say, okay, I've earned a couple of coins, and they'll just tell you. And if you haven't been concentrating and you didn't realize they had a 1, you wouldn't have noticed that you need to get all the coins for this. So eventually it gets kind of competitive and very fast paced to begin with. And when you're new to the game especially, if you rolled a 1, you kind of look at your cards and think, okay, well I've got 1 of these, or I've got 4 of these, or however many you've got, that means I get 4 coins, and you do it all as you do it. But you've got to pay attention. It does have a potential to get a bit complicated and not stressful, but more kind of problematic with people trying to take their turns very, very quickly. So you've got to pay attention and make sure everyone's doing it fairly and kind of nicely. But saying that, it's very, very simple. You don't have that much complication in it. You don't have to worry really about people kind of being confused, because it's so simple. You just earn money for whatever you have a card for. So if you eventually have 1 to 6 and someone rolls anything between 1 and 6, you just look at the corresponding card, and if it says on your turn only and it's not your turn, you don't get the coins. If it's like this one and says on anyone's turn, you get 1 point. And it's very, very simple. Now it does get quite difficult, and it is very, very easy for one person to suddenly earn lots of money, buy lots of cards, and just zoom off and become the winner. But as long as everyone's playing, and the more people that's playing in a way, the better, because there's more competition. Whereas if there's only 2 players, it's very simple for one player to get left behind quite easily. But yeah, that's it really. It's a very, very simple game. The box makes it look quite complicated, and when you laid everything out, it does look complicated. But it's not. It's a really, really simple and straightforward game. And in a way, I would say this is kind of, although it's not a board game, it's like an introduction to card gaming. I would kind of consider this a board game, because it just kind of is. You're not like making a deck of cards or anything. You just lay everything out, and eventually the whole table's filled with people's cards, and you're all rolling dice all over the place. And I don't know, it's good fun. But as I said, it does get a bit more interesting. But that's basically it. There are a couple of expansions for this, which I don't actually have. I haven't played this game a huge amount. I've played it a few times with the same group of people, and it is really good fun. You do kind of end up finding out strategies, which then mean one person knows lots of strategies and therefore is doing quite well. But it's good. It's kind of simple but complicated in a good way. So it's kind of a good kind of gateway to getting into kind of games like this. The only thing that makes it a bit difficult is if you're playing with new people and and 1 or 2 people know the kind of strategies, you can very easily win. But as long as you tell them what the strategy is, which I would try and do if I'm playing with new people, at least they've got a kind of fair chance of doing that as well. Whereas if they're just sitting there earning a couple of coins and you've stacked up all your cards so you're earning loads all combined together, then it's kind of unfair. So it's always worth kind of letting people know what the strategies are, or if you're playing with a few new people, just let them play each other, or partner up. So if there's 2 people that know the game well and 2 that don't, make 2 teams, but each team is made up of a good person and a not as well played person. So you kind of balance it out. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I've got a couple of other reviews that should be up by now. I've got the Tokaido. I've also got a very, very, very long Dead of Winter review, which is a bit too long probably, but that was about a 50-minute review. The Tokaido and the Tokaido Crossroads expansion are only little short 10-minute videos, so try and watch those if you haven't already. But thank you very much for watching. Hopefully see you in another one of my reviews or other videos. Thank you very much. See you then. Bye bye.